Hi, I'm Kenya Cree. I do ceramic art. I'm from Chicago. Yes, that was it, right? Okay. So I came into ceramics by just like exploring my options at like my undergrad school. So we had like a whole bunch of different kind of like art programs, and I just took a pottery class on the whim. So I took pottery, so I have a background in that, and then I took hand building, and then I just fell in love with building sculptures from clay and the material, and I just kept it. So the piece that kind of solidified my passion for ceramics was like, I made like this big like figurative sculpture and it blew up in a kiln. But it was my first piece. It was full figure and it was like this body like kneeling on this like cloud, and I was like, okay, I could push clay, I could build. So I just kept like experimenting from there. But I mean, you win some, you lose some. It's ceramics, so you have to be like comfortable with loss. So a day in the studio is like, I come in, obviously, I put my apron on, I try to figure out what I'm making. I also just kind of experiment. My work is like very intuitive, so I don't know what I'm making when I make it, I just make it. So I just come in, I blast music. I love like old school music, funkadelics and stuff like that. So I try to put like Afrocentric or Afrofuturistic music on, which is music by Black people or whoever. And I kind of like draw inspiration from that. And I'm just in here sweating, building, breaking my back, making work. So physically, it does take a toll on my body a little bit. My back hurts a lot, but I feel like I'm putting like 100% of myself into it. So I used to do like a lot of color. Now I've like, you know, settled down a little bit. Brown obviously is a major color for me because I wanted to have like my kind of color scale in a sense. So I use brown, I use like blues, purples, reds, any color that I can bounce off of like brown and like that metallic, like dark color. Obviously, I'm like using brown and Black people in my work, so I think that color is important, and I think that color does show up on dark skin, and I kind of want to like show that importantness. That doesn't make sense, sorry. I kind of want to show how important that is, basically. So my creative process kind of starts with like me just honestly just building like the base of it, and I kind of have like a sense of where I want to go. Obviously, I want like a Black woman, a Black body. I try to use myself as a reference as well. So there are like pieces of me in my work. So it might be like my apron belly or my breast or my hips or something like that. So I do try to incorporate like my being into my work. So that's how I go about with like my figurative pieces or my faces. I try to put myself in it. So how I approach ceramics, I try to use like a little bit of traditional techniques. So I do use like hand building, I use slab, a little bit of coiling. My work is completely hollow, so I don't build solid. I think that's like my advantage, and I don't use like an armature, so I just go in, slab build my work up and just let it dry, honestly. It's like a patience game, so I'm honestly building 4 inches, waiting, building 4 inches, waiting. So, and I'm letting it stiff up, and just from there using a paddle or ribs to like smooth it out. And I think that kind of like sets me apart from like a lot of other people who kind of build solid and then hollow out their work. So clay, working with clay is very expensive. Clay, ceramics, the materials, the firing is extremely expensive. It's not accessible to everyone. And I think that it not being accessible makes it more like unique in a sense, but it does also kind of keep a lot of people out of it. So the biggest challenges that I face is accessibility, honestly. Getting into studio spaces, keeping up with the studio spaces, paying rent, paying for materials. It's the big leagues. So honestly, I think the first challenge I had when I first got here from undergrad was getting a space and getting access to it. A lot of places are already like filled up, and it's hard to get in. And especially as a Black woman, is even harder. I know ceramics is very white, so getting in the space, being in there, having people not mess with my work is a thing. So honestly, now I feel like I have a space now, so I kind of got over that hurdle. But just keeping up with the rent, bills, materials, I think that is a challenge. And I didn't realize how expensive clay was because I did it in school. So everything was given to me, so now I have to pay for everything, and it's just like, yeah, this is pricey. I think my long-term goal is to honestly keep up with my artist practice. I think that's honestly it. To keep it going and keep it funded. Do I like if people touch my work? I mean, at first it was like, no, don't touch it, obviously. But now my work is solid. It's not gonna fall over. So I don't mind if people touch it slightly. Don't push it. Yeah. I hope that people feel inspired by my work, that they see themselves in my work, that it's a reflection of them. Just like the Black experience, honestly. It's like an arrangement of ways that I want my viewers to feel, but honestly, it's up to them. So I think the most valuable lesson that I've learned is just to experiment, honestly. To experiment honestly and be okay with loss. So when I started the body vases, I kind of wanted to make smaller versions of my bigger figurative pieces. I kind of started really small, and I was like, maybe let's make them a little bit bigger. Honestly, they're very important to me because I feel like they're just little pieces of me that people can have or of themselves. Honestly, I do try to make my work accessible so they're not as expensive as my other work. I know collecting Black art is important, and I kind of want everyone to have a piece of my work. So I try to make a lot smaller versions of my work. So you guys can follow me on Instagram, Kenya Cree. My website is kenyacree.com, and yeah.